Olix Network 18, Mission Poshan, Bhavishya Roshan.
And this is a CNBC TV18 special report. India's trade deficit with China has widened to $63 billion. In fact, it has doubled over the past 5 years. Now, all of this is important because it comes in the context of the Regional Cooperation Economic Partnership Summit, which is going to take place in Tokyo in a few days from now. And the clamor is building for India to bring down its import tariffs. Let's go across now to our colleague Rituparna Bhuyan, who has been tracking this development and to give us a sense of what this could mean potentially for the road ahead. Ritu.
The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership is a 16-nation free trade pact that's under negotiation since November 2012 and will have goods, services, investments and IPR as part of the trade pact. This group of countries account for nearly 40% of global GDP. India and China account for about half of the RCEP economy. And once this FTA is inked, it will clearly be the world's largest trading bloc, and hence there is pressure on India to commit to very steep tariff cuts in the negotiations as it is one of the most lucrative emerging markets in the RCEP region, and the country perhaps could become the world's third largest economy by 2030s. Now, there are two meetings that are scheduled in the next 1 month. The first one is a meeting of negotiators in mid-June, and the second one will be a ministerial meeting which will happen in Tokyo, where trade ministers will discuss RCEP-related issues. We understand that there is considerable pressure on India to agree to cut down tariffs in a time-bound manner on almost all sectors. Till now, Indian negotiators have avoided giving any commitment regarding tariff cuts under the RCEP FTA. Now, why will it be difficult for India to commit to steep tariff cuts under the RCEP FTA? That's because of the humongous trade deficit that India has with RCEP members. Going by the latest figures of FY18, RCEP trade partners account for just about two-thirds of the 161 billion trade deficit that India recorded in the year. China alone accounted for 60% of the trade deficit that India has with RCEP. And we understand that many within the government, including Niti Aayog as well as the Steel Ministry and the Ministry of IT, they have cautioned the Commerce Ministry against joining this mega FTA. Several industry sectors, especially the steel sector, has also been lobbying to convince the Commerce Ministry to abandon the RCEP FTA negotiations.
Okay, Ritu, but a quick second question to you. This comes at a time when India's trade deficit with China is also soaring. Take us through the latest data and what's leading to this widening of the deficit.
China overtook UAE as India's largest trading partner in FY14. However, bilateral trade between India and China have been heavily skewed. Just look at the export numbers here. If you look at the value of our exports to China, you will see that they are yet to recover to the level seen in FY14. This in spite of a 31% growth that we saw in FY18. China's share of India's exports in India's exports basket has been between the range of 3.5% to 4% in this period. Now let's look at the import numbers, and you will see that the pace of increase in imports has been far more rapid. From $51 billion in FY14, we are now at $76.3 billion in FY18, and as a result, India's trade deficit has almost doubled in this 5-year period. And this has happened in spite of India imposing the highest number of anti-dumping measures against China. Last but not the least, if you look at a breakup of 97 broad sectors, two sectors stand out when it comes to India-China trade, and that is machinery and electronics. These two sectors account for about 50% of China's imports into India in FY18, and in the past 5 years we have seen imports of machinery and electronics double from the levels seen in FY14 to what we saw in FY18.
Okay, fair enough, Ritu. Thanks for taking us through that comprehensive analysis. But we're not done with this story. How alarming is the widening of India's trade deficit with China? Parikshit Luthra, in fact, spoke to Anil Wadhwa, a former secretary at the Ministry of External Affairs in charge of India's eastern neighbours. He believes that India should not slash its duties and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership is not balanced.
Certainly, I mean, this is a concern. It's been a rising concern over the last few years. Chinese trade deficits have been rising with many countries. If you look around the world, you'll find most of their major trading partners are facing a similar situation. US is a case in point as well. Of course, as far as we are concerned, if we export about 1/6 of what we import, then that becomes a major concern to a country like India. In a phase in which we are trying to concentrate on Make in India, in a phase in which need to consolidate and make sure that our economy moves ahead, it's important that we address these concerns and take them up very squarely with the Chinese.
Has the response been right so far, sir? Positive so far?
Well, I think the last round of bilaterals which we had with the Chinese, these concerns were put forth in a very candid manner. There has been some amount of progress, although if you look at the joint statements by the two sides, it really doesn't seem that the two sides are talking about similar issues. But at the same time, there have been some change, for example, in our exports in key commodities like diamonds, like copper, for instance. Cotton will receive a shot in the arm because cotton imports from of the Chinese imports from USA are going down. So therefore, India offers an alternative. But most importantly, I think, is the pharmaceutical sector, where generic drugs from India have not been able to make much headway into the Chinese market, mainly because of protectionism. And that issue has been squarely taken up, as you know.
Do you feel there needs to be a greater push from the Indian side to somehow address this trade deficit?
Yes, of course, there has been a greater push, greater realization, and I think in India everyone realizes the need to bridge this deficit as much as possible.
Well, this is going to be a very important matter, and India will have to make its stance clear as quickly as the next few days as we move towards the negotiations for the RCEP. But let's talk about another important story, and that has to do with the 7-hour questioning of the former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram by the Enforcement Directorate. Now, this dates back to the SL Maxis case to 2006. Mr. Chidambaram was then the Finance Minister. The investigative agencies claimed that the FIPB clearance was a matter of quid pro quo. Mr. Chidambaram, of course, has negated that allegation in the past and continues to do so. Let's go across now to Timsy Jaipuria. Timsy, 7-hour questioning of the former Finance Minister. Of course, he has got anticipatory bail now, so no coercive action can be taken till the 10th of July.
Well, that's right. Sources say that former Finance and Home Minister P. Chidambaram was posed some basic and some tough questions by the Enforcement Directorate. Some of the questions that he faced during the session were on his role to grant FIPB approval. Why did he give the FIPB clearance? Why did the deal not go through CCEA? Why did Chidambaram suggest to break 3,500 crore deal into small deals of 600 crore each? Just to remind our viewers, ED had issued fresh summons to Chidambaram to appear before the investigating officer of the case, as he is being alleged to have given FIPB clearance to SL Maxis deal illegally. ED has already questioned his son, Karti Chidambaram, twice in this case. Meanwhile, sources also indicated that during the questioning, he was cooperative with the officials and he has sought some more time to answer certain questions which were posed to him during the first round of questioning. The ED is likely to call him again. So let's see when is he called next and whether ED gets the replies that they were looking for. We'll keep you posted on it.
Okay, Timsy, thanks for joining in with that. In fact, speaking about the interrogation, P. Chidambaram tweeted, and I quote now, appeared before the ED. The questions were about what is already recorded in the file. Hence, answers to were what is recorded in the file. More than half the time taken up by typing the answers without errors, reading the statement and signing it. Need to reiterate, there is no FIR, no offence alleged, yet there is an investigation, end of quote. Speaking of investigations, Naveen Jindal has been questioned by the CBI in connection with the allocation of Gare Palma coal block to Jindal Strips Limited as well as JSPL. The FIR was filed by the CBI in 2014 against Jindal Strips, Jindal Steel and Power and unknown public officials for alleged criminal conspiracy and cheating. He is likely to be called again for questioning in the case where former Minister of State for Coal, Dasari Narayan Rao, former Jharkhand Chief Minister Madhu Koda are also named as accused. So that is a story that has been developing for a long time. And Shireen, another developing story, it seems there's no good news for Shashi Tharoor as far as the Sunanda Pushkar death case is concerned.